I think one of the things too you really need to know is the fact as to how did a school board organized and come to be in Wayne Township.
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
And that was
Are you
Where you can
due
anytime.
to the fact that I met with Sam Lang, who was a trustee, and that's how the school was operated. And he decided not to run, and
as a trustee?
As a trustee, and as president of the Ben Davis Lions Club, some of the members that wanted me to run for trustee, and so I started to look at the school system as it was, and found out that, you know, in the vocational arts, which I'm mechanically inclined and so forth, and that's the first place I looked, you know. Instead of looking at curriculum and the other areas, I looked there and found that they're building hog houses. And I said, you know, hog houses in a vocational school at this time of life? They said, well, this is an agricultural area. I said, it is not an agricultural area any longer. So with this, that got me really interested. And I wasn't thinking of being a board member. I was thinking, how can I get this thing reorganized? And so then I started talking with some of the men in the club, and they said, well, you know, I don't know, Jim, and you know, that's a big job, and you got to get a majority of the people within the district to agree, and so forth.
We had 2 districts?
Just one district.
One district.
Right.
Okay.
And I said, then not only that, I was taking a look at the political end of this thing. Now, how is this going to get to be a school board? We got bus drivers that are precinct committeemen, and these precinct committeemen own their own buses. And so coming in with a school board, and they see where other school districts own the bus system, and they say, well, what's going to happen to me? You know, I mean, I got a contract here with Sam and so forth, and you're going to come in here and do it. So it was looking pretty bad there for a while. But I decided, well, I'm going to put together an organization. So I formed Citizens for Better Schools of Wayne Township. And so I get some of my friends to start putting some dough in for a campaign, and we put up various signs and posters on the telephone poles, and the opposition come along in a pickup truck with a board with a nail in it and ripped them off, and we was really going back and forth, you know. And so finally I had a meeting of the bus drivers, and I said, you know, you guys have got this thing all wrong. The school system then can do this for you with a school board. Owning the buses, contracting with you, or hiring you gives you a better deal. You don't have to worry about the investment in the school bus itself. You don't have to worry about the liability of it and so forth. And I said, you're going to make just as much as you are now. So at any rate,
was this in 1964 then? Or?
That was in 1963, I think it was.
3.
Yeah. And so with that, when the time comes for the election, why, well, we won. So here it is going to be a school board. And so with that, I wasn't really interested in being on the board because I had my business running. And so things were moving along well, and they let it roll, you know. And so I brought some of the men in that had experience in welding, John Davis and some of the friends I knew. And so with that, things went along real fine. So then I seen that there was some, what I thought was maybe a little problem. Of course, I wasn't on the board, but I thought that, you know, sometimes the superintendent likes to control the board. And I kind of thought that's what was happening. So I thought, well, wait a minute. So I thought, well, Mr. Ballman, you know, this is not the way it operates. I mean, you don't own the board. You know, the board will put the policies together, and you take care of them. You run them out. And so that's when I decided to run for the board. And so I ran for the board and was elected. And we did get things, I think, straightened out pretty well. And things began to move. I think Purdue came in at that time and helping and getting some of the vocational schools set up. And it really worked out real well. So I was really pleased that it worked in that direction.
The board with you.
Benny Cyphers was on the board. Mrs. Abbott was on the board.
Evelyn Abbott.
Dewey Hoss was on the
Dewey
board.
Hoss.
And now, oh boy, you know, I can't remember the rest. I can't remember the rest
Was
of it.
Ben Thompson on the board with you? Did he come after you?
Ben Cyphers?
Ben Thompson.
Ben Thompson was on the board.
Okay, so those are the five.
Yeah, that was it. He was on the board, Ben, right. Yeah, that was true. And the board worked good together. There was never any problem that I seen with the board. And well, I'll say this much, fellas, I sure compliment you for being on the board as long as you have.
Thank you.
I just think that's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That's sure devotion. That is sure devotion. You had time, you put a lot of work in. I know that your whole life has been around the Ben Davis Board of Education. That's
It has been.
that's just amazing.
But it's been an honor.
Why, I'm sure it has. Well, I'm thankful and glad that all of these things have worked together and come to a point where you have a well recognized board of education and a school system. It's fantastic, and it's good. One of the things I was going to bring out is when we're talking about the respect and discipline and so forth. It starts in the family, in the parental group. And my son, Brad, stepson, I put him in the Park Tudor School. So he started in Park Tudor in the second grade. So he goes through Park Tudor, graduates, and he tests out of calculus, chemistry, and English, going to Purdue. So he gets into Purdue in school of mechanical engineering, and so he's a junior. And so we didn't get the bill for the dorm, you know, and I said, what's going on, Brad? Where's the bill, you know? And they said, well, he said, we've got this program now where my friends and I, and we're going to lease a house up here, and we'll do our own cooking, we'll do this and we'll do that. And so I said, well, Brad, your mother and I are going to come up and have lunch with you. So we go up to Lafayette and we get lunch, and I said, well, tell me all about this thing. Well, here's the way we're going to do it. You know, she goes through this whole thing, you know, and I said, well, Brad, how are you going to pay for your tuition? Well, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take the money that you put into the dorm and move it over here. I said, well, Brad, the problem is this, that, you see, you're trying to tell me how to spend my money. And that don't work. Now, if you're going to go that direction, you got to take the whole package. So you got tuition and you got your dorm and everything. But if you want to go into a fraternity, then I will pay for your fraternity, but not that. That's the way it is. Well, he said, you just think you're king. I said, I am with my own money. So it's kind of comical because we were over visiting them about 3 months ago. And Brad says, you know, he said, I'll never forget that. And I said, I'm sure glad you didn't. And he says, I know Mom is always wanting to hear me say that. But he's now vice president of General Electric in charge of consumer finance, handles all the credit cards for Walmart and Sam's Club. So they had to move to Rogers, Arkansas, see? But they got a nice home, and so so I'm proud of them.
Well, certainly that was one of the lessons that you learned also, and I think you said earlier something about establishing a goal.
Yes, you have to do that. I mean, you establish your goals, you get close to it, move the goal up, establish another one, and you keep on moving. And I think that has to work. It has worked for me, and I don't know why it can't for anyone else. Last Sunday, for example, we went to the church over on Marine Street, Methodist Church, and after lunch we went to MCL. There was a little color boy that does waits on the table and so forth, you know. And they closed the one down there off of 52nd Street, 62nd Street. They closed it down, so we have to go to Carmel. Well, we live in Carmel now. And so he coming to the table and he was doing this thing. I said, now you had to move from there down to here and you had to get your new job. Yeah. I said, is this what you intend to do forever? Well, no. I said, well, what you intend to do? He says, well, when I get 21, he said, then I'm going to go and get to the police academy. I said, oh, that's nice. And then he says, once I get a job there, I'm going to make enough money that I'm going to go to school and become an architect. And I said, well, now you're talking. Now you're talking. So you can see these things, and you can encourage people to move in good directions. But I don't know whether there's highlights, and a lot of people are not, but I've had some highlights. I had once when my grandfather had this house with a driveway, which is it was maybe 3 lots long. And so he had a guy that would come out every month that had to pay him rent for where they were living. And so he'd come down there and he had a nice Buick. It had a great big old wooden steering wheel. And so he would honk, and I'd run down the driveway and get in that car and ride up to the house. And I always thought, man, this guy's really living. You know? So there's bright spots, I think, sometimes as you come along in life that are there, and if you recognize they fit. So then I belonged to a Boy Scout group, and the scoutmaster said, now Sunday, he says, well, I want you guys go to New Bethel Church over there because that was a church. Okay. So I had a friend of mine named Gene Pruner. And Gene and I, we just took our old clothes and we wore to play in, and we'd go to church. Went over there because where they had a scout meeting, and we went over to it, and it was Easter Sunday. And all these people were dressed up. The girls had on nice dresses and everything, the boys dressed, and we looked like the devil. And I thought, my God, so we got out of that. But it burrowed on my mind, I guess, because in 1968, I was awarded the best dressed man in Indiana. And I'd always swore that, man, I'm going to be somebody. But it was one of those things that I think that there may be 3 or 4 things in life as you're coming up as a child that maybe will strike you, that become a goal. One that you don't want to see, and that you avoid it to make it better. So those are just some of the little things that's been the
lessons learned.
Lessons learned, right.
Well, thank you so much.
You're certainly welcome, and I appreciate that you take the time to listen. And it's been really great to be able to say, hey, I had a little something to do with a great organization, because it is a great one. It is a great one. They've just done everything all over the country with their band, and the teams have been great and so forth. Outstanding. And I thank you. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm.